So Ben Carson, as we all know, is the new. He's the new. I mean, speaking bluntly,
He's been the new right-wing hero.
He's been the new right-wing hero for a while.
They've been the base, the far right base has been begging this guy to run for president, even though he's never held public office in his life.
They're frothing at the mouth for this guy, and he is just, you know. And the thing
I'll be honest. This is my opinion only, 100% my opinion. I feel that they are 100% behind this guy because Obama, they're under the impression that the only way the Republican Party is going to win the presidency, the reason they're losing, I'm sorry, isn't because their ideals and their ideology and what they fight for and what they vote on and what they believe. They don't think that. They think the reason they've been losing is because Democrats have been putting forward women, minorities, etc. And that's the ticket to winning. No matter what their background is, no matter what they believe, the ticket to winning is to reaching out and getting that woman or that black man or whatever to run for president. And here comes Ben Carson, a neurologist, well respected in that field. He's far right thinking wise, and he's a black man. And so they're like, here we go, here he is. We're going to win with this guy if he runs.
Well, you're exactly right. And the great irony of Republican cultural politics is that they tend to practice a form of crude, like incredibly crude identity politics that they project outwards. So at any rate, so yes, I mean, obviously you can't talk about the interest in Ben Carson without his race. That's obvious. To be fair, and I think what makes Ben Carson genuinely he actually does have a genuinely very inspiring life story. He really, and his life story. So there's two things about Ben Carson. The first, to just touch on briefly, this is a guy who grew up in poverty, who dealt with all sorts of problems and crises and challenges, which he did overcome through his extraordinary intelligence in certain narrow fields and his capacity, and his innate gifts and his work ethic, but also because his family received government assistance, which, like most families who receive government assistance, the mother used to survive and to help keep things just barely together while she worked to create more income and support her children. That's how it works. Of course, Ben Carson says, oh, well, back then there was just more of a sense of shame about being on these programs, so it's different now. In other words, my head has been completely up my ass since at least the 80s. I have no idea what's going on in other families of similar backgrounds, nor do I have any interest or empathy. But I'm just going to assert that magically my experience of these programs is radically different, even though there's no empirical data to support it, and even though there's countless other stories and examples of families who needed to use these programs in order to stay afloat and in order to open the opportunities for their children or even themselves to move forward and advance. He happened to advance in a personally really extraordinary way as an incredibly successful surgeon, but the same principle applies, and his lack of intellectual curiosity, empathy, or empirical data is right at home in the party that worships him. And speaking of Ben Carson's consistent and constant revelation of his really just frankly profoundly limited intellectual and analytic capacity in fields outside of his home of medicine, which undeniably he's incredibly accomplished at. Let's take a listen to his response, because of course now he's also a Fox News contributor. That's important to remember. That's his first formal political gig, is being at the network that gave us Glenn Beck, Sean Hannity, and a revolving cast of news anchors yelling xenophobic belligerence and plutocratic garbage, not to mention Fox and Friends. He's on Fox. The anchor's asking him about the VA hospital crisis, which is undeniably a crisis. Many tragic stories, veterans waiting for procedures that they're not getting, waiting for diagnoses that they're not getting, people dying as a result of this. Horrible, 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 horrible story. Let's listen to how Ben Carson responds to it.
I want to move on quickly to the issue of what's going on with the Veterans Affairs scandal at the moment. There are those who say what's happening now is also a preview of what we might see once the Obamacare system is fully in place in this country.
Sure.
Do you say that so? Do you agree with that point of view?
I think what's happening with the veterans is a gift from God to show us what happens when you take layers and layers of bureaucracy and
I think that was a gift from God. I think
Wow.
I think that blah, blah, blah. Okay, so first of
I'd
all,
like to also, right off the top, before you get into this, point out that a number of people have died from apparently what this Veterans Affair.
Absolutely. I
thing
said that in the setup. Many
I know,
people
but I wanted to reiterate it.
Yeah. No,
Yes.
it's absolutely to reiterate and hit that people have died. Absolutely.
A learning experience should never include somebody dying.
And somebody dying needlessly and with tremendous suffering should, as far as I'm aware, not be deemed a gift from God. I mean, this is the type of religious sociopathy that fundamentalism can enable. The kind of casual cruelty that says real people's lives is just a crutch for me to make a made-up political point. Now, and of course, it is a made-up political point because, first of all, the crisis at the veterans' hospitals have gone on through multiple administrations. This is not a Democrat or Republican issue, and in many respects, it is a Republican issue because the Republicans have not wanted to enhance funding. Both parties have been negligent in enhancing accountability, and it also feeds directly into this myth that because he's doing two things here that are completely ludicrous. So number one, he's saying that Obamacare increases government bureaucracy. Well, not really exactly in the way he's framing it, because he's implying that we're moving to a government administered healthcare system. That's just not true. What we're doing is we're basically providing in a complex system to allow people to buy private health insurance and then enhance consumer protections around it. The only part that's government is the expansion of Medicaid, which is already saving lives. And in fact, even the access to private insurance, as problematic as that is in many ways, saving lives. Bureaucracy, there's nothing special to the public sector about bureaucracy. What do you think happens with HMOs every day? What do you think happens with insurance companies every day? They don't deny people necessary care. People aren't dying and getting bankrupt because they're not able to access basic medical procedures because of private bureaucracies? Or wait a second, or is it even on a more mundane level that when you're spending weeks and weeks of your life wasting time arguing with your HMO provider because they won't provide a necessary service because they're trying to screw you over because that's their business model, you spending all that time on the phone and going through endless rigmarole and getting screwed over, that's like an exercise of non-bureaucracy and freedom just because you're interacting with the private sector? I mean, it's just this kind of delusional nonsense and stories that we repeat to ourselves and myths that we live by that lead to loss of life and wasted life. And Ben Carson, with this profound lack of interest and any empirical reality, profound lack of interest in even using his position to actually get on to solve the crisis in the VA hospitals, use it as an opportunity to sanctimoniously dismiss the loss of human life and then make a fake point about the Affordable Care Act. Well, I got to say, it's no mystery why Ben Carson is a hero to Republicans. He fits right in. He exemplifies them. And it's disgusting.